Geordie Journos back here at the Brandlin Arms in Gosforth. Liam, it's been a while since I spoke to you on a Geordie Journos video.
A lot of water under the bridge at Newcastle United in that time.
Yeah. So how are you feeling? Just about everything. I think your last video you would have done a live after that Nottingham Forest win. Newcastle have lost 2 games since then, knocked out of the cup, a few injury blows. We should be positive going ahead to the Carabao Cup final, but just what's your feeling about everything at the moment? Not to start on too much of a negative note, but...
Do you know what, on the way up here, when I was coming to meet you, I thought, I'm going to have a good think about this, and I'm going to really rack my brains and sort of sense what I feel inside. And I can't really, despite, I've been really positive, I would say, this season, largely about the team and about the progression, and we'll come on to the direction of the football club in a bit, which I do still feel inherently positive about. In the main, it isn't perfect, but I do feel positive about that. The direction of travel this season, I think, is on a dangerous course. I've got a huge amount of anxiety ahead of Wembley. I'm not going to lie about that. I had been really positive up until very recently, and I think the last 2 weeks is not the stuff in our of us. Now I hear people, I see there's a lot of infighting and stuff on social media I see where it's always like fans blaming each other for atmospheres and blaming each other for moods, and it's your fault, it's people like you why this club doesn't win things. It's not actually. It's people like the 11 footballers who run on the pitch and the manager why this football club will or won't win something at Wembley. It isn't because you're going to wave a little piece of paper whether Newcastle United lift a trophy, because it didn't happen 2 years ago. So all this finger pointing, pathetic stuff you see on social media, I'm just saying that as a little precursor because I might get it for being negative here. But I am filled with anxiety. I think Newcastle United, in my opinion, I think a harsh dose of reality, if anybody needed one, is this. The statistics don't lie. Newcastle United have not really beaten Liverpool all that much in the last 30, 40, 50 years. You can go back as long as you want. Newcastle United haven't won many games at Anfield. They've beaten them at home a few times, of course. But go back a long time. Newcastle United haven't really beaten Liverpool all that often. They haven't beaten them for 10 years-ish.
Yeah.
Home away, haven't beaten them anywhere.
It was at home in December 2015 was the last win. So that's another statistic. So what I would say, in Liverpool at the moment are a much stronger Liverpool than they have been for the last few years. Probably not a couple of years under Klopp, they were incredible. They're not quite at that level this season, but they're the best of a bunch in the Premier League. They are the best team. And that goes to say they're one of the best teams in Europe, probably in the top 2-3 teams in Europe at the moment. Newcastle United aren't. Now, you play Liverpool in a final with all the heritage and history that Liverpool have, forgetting Newcastle United, and add in the fact that they're playing a very, very good football team, probably one of the best on the planet at the moment, with some of at least one of the, possibly the most informed player on the planet, or one of the top 5. I would suggest Newcastle United had to be 100% at their absolute best, performing really well to have a chance, like a decent chance in this final. And I would say Newcastle United at their very best, looking at everything that you bring into the equation, probably had a 3 in 10 chance. It's not a 50-50 game. It's weighted in Liverpool's favour, history, heritage, the side that they are, the quality of players that they have, was weighted in their favour. I would say 3 times out of 10 on a neutral ground, Newcastle United had a chance of beating Liverpool. I think that has diminished with the loss of Anthony Gordon, like it or loathe it. I'm not going to be someone who sits on here and slates the bloke. We've all made mistakes. We've all had heated moments where you lose your temper. And look, it was knout. It was knout, but it was a red card. It was a red card, but it was knout. It shouldn't be a red card. He's tried to push him, hasn't he? And he's accidentally caught him in the face. Didn't mean to catch him in the face, hasn't tried to hit him, hasn't tried to hurt him. He's just trying to push him because he's got a hold of his shirt underneath. That's all he's done, and he was frustrated because things weren't... Every time he tried to beat his man, he couldn't do it. He was getting frustrated. Look, he's made a mistake. I'm not going to absolutely, slaughter him for that mistake. I think he'll be feeling worse than anybody else. But Newcastle United need Anthony Gordon. He's the best chance creator that the team has. He's a real element of pace and quality. He's probably the best left-sided player in the Premier League this season. They've lost him. to lose Lewis Hall as well on that left-hand side. Lewis Hall, I wouldn't say in the last 6 to 8 weeks is probably at his best period of the season. I think he's been a bit in, out.
His response to the Man City game, where he had a very poor game, but everyone did, was brilliant. He was the best player on the pitch against Nottingham Forest and the best player on the pitch for Newcastle against Liverpool.
I thought he was unbelievable in the first half. Then I thought he struggled a bit for the first 20 in that second, then came again. I thought it was a brilliant performance. He was the best player Newcastle had that day. But I wouldn't say he's been his early season brilliance, where it was just, he was flawless every single game. Now that's not taken away from the fact that it's a huge loss. Because a lot of Newcastle United's quality in that back four comes from Lewis Hall. He's a calming influence. He allows people around him to pass him the ball in tricky situations, and he's got a knack of finding his way out of it. He can play a quality ball. He gives you a good attacking threat and good balance to the team. Now, what you lose with Lewis Hall, you gain slightly in some other ways, because, in my opinion, Tino Livramento was a better left back than he's ever been a right back for Newcastle United. He is a right back. I'm not silly here, but he's never been as good a right back as he has a left back. If that
Which sounds
sense.
silly, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
I think he's always performed better. Now, I think he's better when he's one-on-one defending weirdly off his wrong foot. He seems better at that, backtracking in that sense, because he gets beaten so easily on the right-hand side this season. It's been schoolboy stuff at times, I think. And I feel sorry for him a little bit because he's a young lad. I think he's needed taking out the team and put away for 6 weeks. You just crack on, son, get your confidence back. But he's had to play, and he's had to keep playing and playing and playing, because Trippier can't really finish a 90 minutes by the look of him. But Livramento will come in. I also think he makes runs on the left-hand side that don't get picked up as much as they do on the right-hand side. It doesn't really overlap very well or underlap very well on the right-hand side. He actually does it really well on the left-hand side and creates problems. So maybe it's just that trajectory of a right-footed defender making runs inside. He's made a few of them.
Yeah.
I think he's good on that side. And what Trippier will give you on the right is not only the experience, but he'll also give you that quality that you've then lost probably with Lewis Hall going out. So it balances. I think they can possibly get away with that and deal with it. They do lose something, they have to change, and they will be different. Gordon is a massive loss. It's a massive loss. Newcastle they only have, in my opinion, probably 5 top-end Premier League players, like top end, and they've lost 2 already, and that's leaving them with Isak, Bruno and Tonali. And Bruno at the moment looks like he's struggling. He really looks like a lad who's played virtually every minute of every single game and carried the weight of the team on his shoulders this season. Some would argue it hasn't been his best season. I would argue he's just been himself, but is now looking really exhausted. So it's not really a great prospect. There's the rumours about, is Isak injured, is he not? We've seen all the stuff on social media that seems to crop up every so often around these things. There's nothing that we've heard at this very moment in time to suggest that he is.
Eddie Howe said almost the opposite, said he doesn't think it's an injury, fingers crossed he's okay. So fingers crossed.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, so there's a bit of doubt in there, is what I'd say.
So I think Newcastle need all of their top players fit and firing to have a decent chance. So I would say that 3 in 10 chance of winning a final is diminishing by the week. And that's why where my anxiety comes from. I'm really sad that I sit here, and look, criticise all you want. I'm sad that I sit here and it feels like going to Man City, or it feels like Liverpool, where you're just going to Liverpool. Obviously we are, but down at Wembley, where it's just like, we just need to get this game out of the way. It's a chance to win a trophy. It's a mad. Maybe you don't agree with that. That's fine.
You are very much not up for the cup.
I am not up for the cup, no, and I'm sad. It hurts us inside to think that's how I feel. But I genuinely do feel like that. I feel full of anxiety in relation to it. I didn't feel this way 2 years ago. 2 years ago felt different.
And they got beat.
So
you never know.
So who knows?
Come kick off. Harvey Barnes rakes one top corner.
I'm not starting Harvey Barnes, by the way. Have you had this debate on here already with Jordan?
No, I don't think so. No.
Right. So I think. Look, I'm going to be Eddie Howe here and talk some rubbish, and that's fine. I'm setting up Newcastle United with obviously Livramento on the left and Trippier on the right as the back four. The 2 centre halves, even though they literally look like they've never played together at the moment,
despite being brilliant previously.
It's just
hesitant, half asleep. Like, it's embarrassing watching the two of them at the moment from where they were earlier this season. But they pick themselves because there's nobody else.
Yes.
Then the midfield for me to pick itself because they are deserve to be in there. They are quality. The rest is up for debate. Murphy starts on the right, Isak starts in the middle, and I go Joe Linton on the left.
Okay.
And this might be controversial because I've been a critic of him on here, but I play Joe Willock, and I play Joe Willock because of the way I probably try to set the team up in the game. We've seen Eddie Howe, this is using Eddie Howe's model, we've seen Eddie Howe set the team up where he does that thing where they become a 5 out of possession, and Joe Linton does the cover on the left-hand side. Now I think Tino Livramento is going to need help on that left-hand side, so I would probably do that. And I think rather than Miley, he did it a bit. It was a bit of that at Liverpool, wasn't there? That's why Willock played, because he can tuck as more of a wide midfielder than Miley wouldn't be really suited out there at all, I would say. So that's probably the team that I pick. Even though personally, as a midfielder in general, I think Miley is my choice always ahead of Joe Willock for this particular game and the way that I would probably try and set the team up. And I suspect he might. I think he plays Joe Willock.
Right. Who's your goalkeeper?
I forgot about that bit. It's so often the goalkeepers just pick themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
I'm picking Martin Dubravka.
Okay. You made a big call on Sunday to put Martin Dubravka back in the team.
Totally threw me.
And Martin Dubravka had a good game, I thought.
Totally threw me. Yes, he was partly to blame for that last goal, taking a risk where he doesn't need to take a risk. But the bit that annoyed me was there was a lot of time between that happening and the ball going in the back of the net. It was so defendable in the period in between. Yes, Dubravka made a mistake, but then 15, 20, 25 seconds later, the ball's in the net. That's not a direct mistake, in my opinion. So I would play Dubravka. I thought he made a fantastic save. I haven't even seen it again. I was there as a fan with the kids, obviously, wasn't with you guys. What a save he made. Was it in the second half? At the Gallagher end?
Yeah.
I'd need to see it again, like down
made
his right hand side.
Both ends, but
brilliant. Yeah. I don't think either goalkeeper is the answer. I don't think either goalkeeper is perfect. I think if you put them together, you make a good goalkeeper because they've both got faults in their game. I don't think Dubravka, despite having been an amazing shot stopper for Newcastle in the past, is an amazing shot stopper. I don't think he commands his box as well as Nick Pope can. But I think there's less holes in his game. I don't think the statistics particularly stack up very well. Nick Pope's main strength has always been his shot stop, and I don't think the statistics, if you take a little look at them, stack up all that well, particularly when he's played recently. He's conceded a lot of goals and not made many saves at all. No. That's not a good ratio for a goalkeeper.
I think I was just looking at his recent games, like the block of his last 4 or 5 games, and his save percentage, having been about 60-70% recently, has dropped to about 40. So,
well, I know that's
in the context of Newcastle have been conceding 3, 4, 2 every game he's basically played. So
I was thrown by the Howe thing because I thought he's we might have even discussed it. Yeah, it's almost like he's been has he been trying to get Pope back in, easier man for the final, to then see him flip it with Dubravka. Everything's on West Ham now. Like, whoever starts West Ham, you would assume starts the cup final. Yeah. Do you think? Or can we even make that assumption?
No, I'd say given there's a reasonable amount of time, it's less than a week, but 6 days between West Ham and the final, I'd say the team that starts West Ham, barring any injuries or suspensions, hopefully not, would probably be the team that starts the final.
So has Nick Pope played in the cup this year?
Played against Birmingham.
So I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to this at the moment. It's hard to tell trends because it was so obvious, right? Oh, he's made his decision. It's Pope, and then were you as surprised as me? Because I couldn't believe it when I saw.
Yeah, I thought as soon as Nick Pope started, returned to the side, and then remained in the side against Liverpool, I went, right, that's decision made. But
could it have been the Liverpool game? He doesn't want to be in the same position that he was 2 years ago, where you're throwing a goalkeeper in who has not played football for months, which Pope wouldn't have if he hadn't played yet. He's at least got a couple of games under his belt, and he won't be as cold.
So he has the choice needed. Almost.
Yeah. So he's given himself an option.
He's given himself control over the goalkeeper situation. It's his decision now, having it been taken out of his hands previously.
And he's quite often chosen Dubravka over Pope this season.
Yeah.
Like since the Pope injury.
Well, yeah.
he hasn't gone as quickly as he did the last time back to Pope after Pope had an injury. Dubravka was dumped out within a game or two. He was given a little bit of grace.
Yeah, I think it was 2 games. Yeah.
Whereas he was kept in as the number 1 when Pope came back this time. I think it's a really intriguing decision. Will it have any impact on the game? I suspect whoever's in the goal will be busy.
Yeah.
Dubravka proved against Liverpool a year and a bit ago that he can do the shot stopping stuff and he can be the
but still concede 4 goals.
He did, but he was incredible.
He was very good.
He was incredible. I think Nick Pope has come back with a bit to prove. I don't think he doesn't look as much of a disaster over the ball at his feet as what he has. I mean, that might be wrong. I don't think he's looked as bad.
He's had moments the past couple of games he's played.
Yeah. Well, he did. He hit. What was the last game he played? Liverpool. He hit it off the defender, didn't he? When he's trying to pass it out.
Forest, he had one as well. It got to the point where Fabian Schär just had to stand next to him to help him take a goal kick. It wasn't great. Like
that's so. The modern game, you can't do that. You can't do that, and that's why it's going to pass him by. He was a good signing for the price that Newcastle paid, but I think they've got to move on from that. Who do you pick in the final? Yeah, I don't think
I'm always leaning towards Martin Dubravka.
Oh, yeah.
At the moment, yeah. I think Newcastle look a better team with him in it. Although I do get the argument, and I'm not sitting on the fence here. I think Dubravka should start, but in a game where you'd expect Newcastle to be under the cosh a little bit, Nick Pope does have his strengths when he claims the ball. His presence in the goal is much bigger than Martin Dubravka's. But if Newcastle, if they want to win the final, they have to play well, and they are a better team at playing well. Better team at playing well, that doesn't make sense. They play better with Martin Dubravka in the side at the moment. They're more functional.
Yes. That's my big problem about that. I know we've got West Ham in between, so we're talking so much about this final, but as I said weeks ago, it is the game that matters. Nobody's worried about Anthony Gordon missing West Ham. You're worried about Anthony Gordon missing the Carabao Cup final.
It's a shame he won't play against Brentford either.
I mean, that literally feels like a million miles away, doesn't it?
Nothing matters until after the final.
The final's all that matters.
It's actually just been crippling since Newcastle made that final. It's just mentally, and everything is in the context of the final. And while Eddie Howe's tried to convey a message of no, it's the next game, when you speak to players or when you're seeing them post stuff on social media, there's always nuances of the finals coming up, big games coming up. We've got something to look forward to. Speaking to Darren Eales yesterday, which we'll get onto, stuff about the final, looking forward to that. It's clearly a massive part of everyone's mind at the club, and me and Jordan mentioned it on our previous 2 videos. I think we went to Liverpool last week. For want of a better phrase, they couldn't give a crap about the final at the moment, because they've got 2 huge games against PSG. They're competing for a league title, and then
I think they're used to that. I think that helps. I think that helps. I think how people are like, Newcastle have got 1 day less to recover and stuff. I'd rather they're playing West Ham on the Wednesday night. No. I genuinely do, because it takes the focus. It's just
not if Isak limps off and it's like,
well, if he limps off on Monday, he's still out anyway, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. But I think just to divert that focus, I really like what the football club have done this time. There's none of this huge build-up.
There's no media day.
No media day. There was a media day last time, for anybody who doesn't know that, which was great. We went down to the training ground. They had different interview stations set up with Dan Burn, Sean Longstaff and Kieran Trippier, Eddie Howe we did as well, and it was great. It was brilliant, just all of us huddled around. We were sat on desks in the indoor training area. We were able to just fire our questions up, and it was quite nice. Chance to speak to the players and just convey that. I definitely did wish Eddie Howe good luck that day, because I was determined to make sure that he knew how much it meant. I think he knows. It made me feel better at the time. Okay. But no, they're not doing that this time. I think that's a good thing. The football club will get used to success, relative success for Newcastle United is getting to finals, because they haven't done it for a long time. They will get used to this, playing in quarter-finals, semi-finals and finals. It's just par for the course of a club like Liverpool, which is why there'll be no sense of pressure.
No, it's an afterthought for them at the moment.
The pressure comes
until it's their next game.
Until that day that Newcastle United win it, the pressure will always be there, whether fans want it to be or not, because it matters so much. To a football club that will probably just win a trophy, if not this one, they'll win another one this year, or another 2 next year, or one out the year after, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or even within the next 5 years, no, they'll probably win a trophy because that's what they do. The pressure of making a mistake and being brave and letting something happen that you know, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Just in a very small moment in a game, that pressure is gone because it doesn't matter as much if you make that mistake.
Yeah.
And then even if you concede, it's like, well, we've come back before because we've been to 4 finals in the last, 8 years.
It's our 15th League Cup final.
Yes, this is how many times have we visited Wembley in the last 5 years?
Yeah.
Newcastle United 2, Liverpool I would imagine a whole lot more.
Yeah.
A bit like Manchester United, I remember that statistic last time.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was ridiculous. So that pressure will not leave until somebody finally breaks the duck. And whether we like it or not, whether you wave a flag around or not, whether you do whatever, Wembley doesn't create an atmosphere. So shouting and bawling at each other that you didn't create an atmosphere and you didn't stand up enough and you didn't shout enough isn't really going to make a difference to those players on the pitch. Yes, they like it, they would rather be supported, and it can make a difference. I think it makes a difference at home because it is so one-sided. And it's a bowl full of Newcastle United fans. It can make a difference. I don't think it does at Wembley. It's quite a vast area, and it dissipates the sound. It doesn't sound loud, even if you're all shouting out there at your very highest. It doesn't make a noise. St James's Park can. It's more enclosed.
Yes. Do you want to move on?
I don't know. Probably been all over here, but I think you get the sense that. Are you anxious or not? Am I an outlier here?
No, I'm not anxious.
You're not anxious?
I'm not. But
I want to embrace
I'm naturally just try to be dispassionate from it all. I remember getting pretty much overwhelmed last time when I was in Wembley Stadium. I was like, whoa, this is it.
But that won't happen this time.
No, I'm very calm and trying to be dispassionate about the whole situation. But as soon as the game
whistle
kicks
goes
off,
and
you
it's
go,
in
right, cup final.
It's every tackle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, so, no, I think I'm the same. I feel very anxious about it now, but I think probably as the day comes, you start to embrace the idea of it, and that 1 out of 10 chance that I'm talking about potentially suddenly in your mind grows.
Bruno cheers a tackle and you're like, we're going to win.
It becomes more. But as I
minute.
sit here, however many days whenever you watch us, or a week and a half out from the final itself, I just genuinely it doesn't. I don't feel overwhelmingly positive about the idea of everything, about going, about being there, about it's just not taken me yet. Whereas I was absolutely in that night when we beat Arsenal, both games.
It was great, but
It was, but that was a long time ago.
it feels a long time.
I don't
ago.
think they've played well since. 20 minutes against Nottingham Forest.
Yeah. It has
But I
been.
don't really even buy into this idea that it's all final related. I'm not really sure it does. Because, I don't know. I think it's actually a season thing. I don't think Newcastle United have been great this season.
No.
I don't think they were as good as
They had a weirdly good start despite never playing well. Then probably had a run of form that reflected how well they were playing. Then won 9 games in a row, which has basically propped up the entire season by getting through to a cup final, getting in and around where they should be in the Premier League, and then they've gone back to the level they were before that winning run. That's all that's happened. If it wasn't for that 9-game winning run, we're probably saying call the season off.
They've played this season in bursts, and they've played in bursts in games.
Yeah.
And at the moment, they're all they've produced is little bursts. I mean, I thought that was utter dross against Brighton for the large part.
I think both teams were poor towards the end. I thought Newcastle were actually alright in the first half.
I didn't think they were great. I thought there was a lot of players.
They were in control, I thought, until they conceded.
I looked at certain players who didn't grasp opportunities.
But that's happened too many times, hasn't it, really? Harvey
Barnes is not taking any opportunity that's given his way. That's a perfect opportunity against, a couple of it was a half-arsed cup tie that any team could have won quite comfortably. And that's a game where Harvey Barnes should be really, if he's at the level that some people have built him up to be, it's certainly not on this podcast. But if people have built podcasting, sorry, that's got a podcast on the mind because there might be one coming. On this YouTube channel, he's never really been built up on this YouTube channel, to be honest.
Even when he was doing.
Yeah, we want him to do well.
It's hard for a player who has been injured and hasn't played a lot of football to come in and be red hot.
If you get an opportunity to grasp it, and this is his opportunity, he should have played that Brighton game and scored a couple of goals, or really had a big influence.
Yeah.
Big influence. And then it wouldn't be a debate. Now it'd be like, well, Barnes is going to start the final, isn't he? It wouldn't be a debate. Now he might still do that. He might get a chance against West Ham, and he might do that against West Ham. But he hasn't done that so far. He's chipped in with a few vital goals in his time, and he's a bloody good finisher. Can't get away from that. But he has not grasped the opportunity. I think up until that game on Sunday, it was hard not to say Lewis Miley was in charge of potentially stepping in and taking a position. I didn't think he had a great game. I thought he was a little bit anonymous in the game. It happens, he's a young lad.
I thought he was tidy.
Yeah-ish, without really influencing.
Yeah.
But it was a big opportunity to try and do that with Bruno stepping out of the team. Because I looked at that midfield when I seen Joe Linton with the physicality, and then Miley in there as well, and Tonali. I said, actually, you know what? If these three play well, it might be hard for Bruno to get back in, and it probably wouldn't be a bad thing to give him a few games rest if he needs it. I'd be putting him straight back in, because even though the game lost a lot of it was to and fro and things like that, Newcastle probably got a bit more control of that midfield when he came into the team. Despite him not actually really playing that well, the team just functioned better and they had more control. So he picks himself again. I just don't think players are really grasping that chance to take a place.
Yeah.
Which is what you expect. I'd hope to see that actually in the run up to this final.
Yeah, there's no fire under the bellies of players coming
on the door.
I think a big problem this season, particularly the past couple of months, is consistently Newcastle have made changes and the players have not made any impact.
Joe Willock fits into that. I'm saying I'll put him in the team in the final, probably more because of the functionality of how I would see that game. If I'm picking my team, how I would see that function working. But he's not grasped any opportunity. He's been given plenty.
Against Birmingham he did, but that's
levels in it. Callum Wilson was excellent in that game. Callum Wilson, when he's been thrown in, particularly I thought on Sunday, it just didn't look right. And look, there's excuses for this. Joe Willock and Callum Wilson, between them, well, you don't even have to add Callum Wilson in. Joe Willock hasn't played a lot of football for 2 years. Callum Wilson is much older and hasn't played the same. He's played less games in 2 years. He's always going to look rusty. He's going to look rough because he's not at that level and he's not up to his maximum speed potential. And who knows, he might never get to the levels that he was before. It might look that way. I hope he does. But he looks a long, long way off. He looks a long way off being able to even be a deputy to Isak. I think it was the influence in games. I was really heartened by what I saw against Birmingham City. But that has to be taken into account that realistically, forget leagues. You know, they're probably a mid-championship team level they're playing at the moment. Makes you wonder, is that some of these players' levels? We've always said that. I don't know, and I hope not for Wilson. He's been a fantastic player, and I've always liked him, always been a big fan. But his body's just let him down, and I hope he's got one last hurrah in him, and fingers crossed it's...
In the Carabao Cup?
Well, I tell you what, he loves a goal against West Ham, so it'd be nice to see him get a confidence. Nick one against West Ham and go into that final knowing where the back of the net is again, because he knows where the net is from his career, but he's not felt it really too much for a while, so it'd be nice to see him get one.
Yeah, and another big thing this week, I'm conscious of the time, but we obviously yesterday spoke to Newcastle CEO Darren Eales.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one.
This is going to have to be a long one. We could probably break it into 2 videos.
Why don't we do that? We'll get the sponsors in to give them a good show.
Yes. Midway point in the video, well, maybe not the midway point, but here's a word from our Geordie Journo sponsors. Comply IT Limited. Worrying about disposing of your old IT equipment? Don't be. Comply IT handle everything. Secure collection, detailed tracking, and certified data destruction. That's Comply IT Limited. We've also got Mitigate. Mitigate enhances workplace mental health, helping businesses stay compliant, reduce absences, and unlock higher productivity, creating healthier, happier teams. And of course, our OG sponsors, Four Rivers Financial Planning. Four Rivers Financial Planning offer holistic financial advice for all stages of life, ensuring your plan remains robust and adaptable in the ever-changing world we live in. So yeah, those were our 3 sponsors. Links in the description below, as well as the Geordie Journos shop. It's a shame we're not wearing any Geordie Journos merch today.
No.
But we'll one video, I'm sure.
Yeah, well. What you got on? Metroland?
Yeah.
Did you ever go to Metroland?
Of course I did.
Yeah. I loved it.
It was good.
It was good.
It's a disgrace what they've done to the... Oh well. But getting back to Newcastle, not Gateshead, not Metroland.
No.
Newcastle, Darren Eales, Newcastle's finances. If we're talking about sort of negativity and everything surrounding the club and a bit of a frustrating feeling, there was a very positive message conveyed by Darren Eales on the whole, I thought, yesterday. So you were in the call, I was in the call, about a dozen or so of the local media were. What did you think about what Darren Eales had to say?
I think there's lots of different elements to it. I think if I was to give you an overall feel, I took a confidence from what was said and what I've seen, that at the football club every day, that there's been pain and it's been hard following it and sticking with it, and that was the basis of your question. But I feel like every day that moves forward, whatever's happening on the pitch, that the football club is getting in a better position to be successful, which wasn't always the case. Now, you might not always agree with every decision that they're making. You might not agree with every person who's in positions at the football club. You might not agree with all their policies. You might not agree with some of the future decisions, which are coming very, very soon, as discussed. But I do feel like the football club every day is getting stronger and is getting better. It's getting financially stronger. The big thing that I took from it is because there's a lot of PSR and you can muddle your own mind up at times about what's this, what's that. And the bit about cycles I thought was the key thing. That the club made a really small loss on the last 3-year financial cycle. Then they had the 2 big spends. It's flipped this time. So you've got the 2 big spends as the last 2 years. It's front loaded now. So then you've got the minimal loss is the last one. So it's in a really good position. If you think about it in theory, that one will drop off at the end of the financing year this year.
The 70 odd million, yes.
So that drops off. Think about what was spent in that year. Am I correct in saying, I was thinking about this morning, that was the year that it was the January of Trippier, Bruno, Byrne, Pope, and then it went Pope, Isak, Botman in the summer.
Yeah, those were over two different years.
That was 2 different years.
Because it was either side of June 30th.
Of course. So which one drops off? The 1st January?
Yes.
That was a significant £100 million spend. Yeah. So that would effectively mean you potentially could spend that in the next window without letting anybody go, without sales.
Which was a big message.
Stick to the same model, because that was another thing that really shone through, and it was that Newcastle United are going to keep spending every penny that they possibly can to the maximum of losses. And that's what they're doing. So whatever drops off and becomes available, you know that the football club is going to allow to be spent. Whether that's in one go, I don't know, because they might not want to be sitting in the same position in a cycle of 2 years' time going, right now we've got to sell players. But I think they've proven in January, and I think there might be some hindsight merchants out there going, oh, shouldn't have let Lloyd Kelly go because of what's happening. Nah, you'd still let, even with Lewis Hall getting injured, you'd still do that deal and let Lloyd Kelly go because of what it means to the bigger picture of the football club. I think it's still a no-brainer. I wouldn't, and he never proved to me that he could be a footballer at Newcastle United in any game that he played. I think he had one half good game.
Against Spurs he played well.
Yeah. I thought it was one of the cup games he was alright.
Chelsea maybe.
Yeah, that was the one I thought he was decent in the cup game. Apart from that, he looked like a centre-half who didn't look very good in the air, couldn't really head a ball, which is another thing altogether. Footballers who can't head footballs. Like, I know there's all the controversy around everything, mental health and causing dementia and all the studies that are going on. But it's part and parcel of the game, and if you're going to head a ball, you've got to be able to open your eyes to head the ball. We've seen one on Sunday. Joe Willock on the 6-yard box shuts his eyes and misses the ball.
Yeah.
There's too many professional footballers cannot hit a football.
Aye. I can tell you're a keen header of the ball.
You know I am.
You're the only one who...
I like getting up for it.
5-a-side.
Yeah.
Barging people out the road. Bang. Silly.
It's maybe something I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
But no, I think my overall feeling was, look, I feel like the club is getting there and it's getting stronger. It's not at the speed that Darren Eales said this. It's not at the speed they wanted it to be. And I thought he was really strong on a couple of issues as well. Particularly Alexander Isak, Sales.
Yeah, that was the big takeaway for me, because having sat on the call last year, where he may as well have just walked in with a for sale sign for all the players, saying every player's got a price. And as it happened, now we've got the full context of the situation. Darren Eales was speaking, probably knowing Newcastle were on the verge of breaching PSR, and they were in a very difficult situation, and they would have to sell players in order to remain compliant. So it makes sense.
He did put the for sale sign up, didn't he? That's what he did.
That's what it made. What he said makes sense.
Yeah, we were speculating like, oh, he may as well have. He actually was. He was alerting everybody to say, if you make us an offer for a player, we'll consider
every
it.
player's got a price. This time, we would be crazy to sell our top players. Completely different message, a U-turn, if you like, from his message 12 months ago, which is encouraging. He's speaking about Alexander Isak, talking about his contract situation. He's a player under contract at the club. What would he say to any players who asked to leave the club, say if they missed out on Champions League or if a big offer came in? Well, all the top players are tied to long-term deals.
Didn't entertain it, did he?
No.
He wouldn't even go there, which shows how strong the message was. I was surprised by the strength of that message.
It also ties into what Eddie Howe's also said, where it's like, what if Newcastle, say, miss out on Champions League and players want to leave? And Eddie Howe said, well, if you want to play Champions League, you've got to earn it here.
Yeah.
It's within Newcastle's grasp, as much as we're trying to be negative around certain things. They're still within touching distance of Champions League qualification this season. They're sitting 6th. 5th will almost certainly be enough to qualify for next season Champions League. So if you're a player going, oh, I want to be playing Champions League football, prove it, do it with Newcastle. That's the message Eddie Howe's put out anyway.
And I thought that stuff was good from Darren Eales, and it was good. It was a very different one to last year, wasn't it? Just a different dynamic.
I was speaking to another journalist on the call. I spoke to you as well, and it was like last year was bombshells. This year there was almost nothing. It was just a more positive message. From a journalist point of view, we're like, well, what's the line? The Alexander Isak stuff and
I think we all went
sales.
Without discussing it. We all went, we're crazy, because it would
be crazy to sell anyone. Whereas last time it was for sale. Every player.
It was, but I thought there was some good stuff in there. I think his answer to Craig Hope, friend of the channel, was quite good, where he talked about the interest at PIF and he went in depth there. But you know, the type of decisions that they're going to be making is basically going to prove to everybody exactly how interested they are in this football club, and that it hasn't changed. That was kind of maybe I'm paraphrasing a bit too much, but that was kind of what I'd taken from.
No, well, he stressed the stadium. That's going to be a major investment. The training ground, which we've done a video on previously, big decisions going to be made, and the fact that Newcastle have kept things tight this season and not really spent in the last 3 transfer windows, and then you're looking at losses of 11 million last season. Like you say, that 3-year cycle. Darren Eales said he's excited for the summer, and it's good news heading into the summer. So
he talked about a position. He got positioning themselves. They've positioned themselves to make it easier to spend moving forward. That was as strong as I think he went when a lot of people jumped on it saying, "Oh, he said they're going to spend big." I seen some people, social media accounts saying, "Oh, Darren Eales says they're going to spend big." He didn't say they're going to spend big, but he said it would be easier for them to do so, which I think is. You know, I can see why you've jumped to those conclusions, because he hasn't said anything like that before. But now I think there was some good stuff. There was a buoyancy, a confidence, which has been lacking, I think, as a club this season. It's all felt a bit meek this season, apart from that flurry of positivity between mid-December and mid-January. I think the whole football club this season's had a meekness about it. not really spending, watching others.
Phrase put by Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
That's what it's felt like, the lack of signings.
And there's a reason for it. And I've always been an advocate, always on these videos and content on newcastleworld.com, always an advocate of saying they're actually taking these decisions for the betterment of the football club. Not snap reactions saying we need to do this and be brave and do this and do that. No, that they're actually looking at everything and doing the things they should have done 2 years ago. They should have been braver in terms of reining it in 2 years ago and not had to make the stupid decisions they had to do last summer, which, you know, I'm not really bothered about the Minty one. I've said that numerous times. It didn't bother us. I think that's actually really good business, and if they signed a kid this summer and sold them a year later for treble 4 or 5 times the money, I'd say well done. Yeah. You've done transfers right.
Did you enjoy his lack of celebration?
No, that was pathetic.
You know, apologising to you, I think.
It's nice. Yeah, it's nice. Thanks, Jan Kuba, it's nice, but I'm not all for that. Not at all. It was the Elliot Anderson thing that got me, and it always will get us. I didn't want to lose him. I don't think he's going to be a world beater, but I think he would have been a really good player for Newcastle for years to come. Still hasn't added goals to his game, but could have been a really combative midfielder in the same. It would have worked really well, I think, in Newcastle's team. So that's the one that sticks with me. They don't want to be in that position again. They probably should never have put themselves in that position. And what I've always heard, and I've said on here before, I always got the sense that they were saying lessons had been learned. Yeah. I think they'd learned lessons of not selling players at the right time. Hence, Trippier didn't go when he probably should have, even though he's still the best right back I've seen at Newcastle United, and will always be held up in that regard from me. But should have went when the money was on the table, knowing the situation that they were in, should have happened. They did the Lloyd Kelly deal for that reason. They let Lloyd Kelly go because it was a right sell at the right time. You've got to make these decisions sometimes for the betterment of the football club. You've got to protect your future self, and that's what they weren't doing for 2 years. Yeah. And I'm not sure they'd ever put themselves quite in that sort of position again, which is a good thing. Yeah,
and it was good to see it sort of in black and white, if you like, just the progress of the club from a financial perspective as well. Darren Eales obviously went hard on that when speaking to us, where 320 million revenue, club record revenue, the losses limited to 11...
Without Adidas as well.
Yes. Losses limited to £11 million. Obviously they had the bonus of £30 million from the Champions League, but commercial revenue up 90% to £83 million, and that will increase again for this season. So
percentage probably might not. The percentage might not increase, but
the 83 will. Yeah. So a lot of things are moving in the right direction.
I mean, the match day might have been false in some respects because of the extra Champions League games and money that come in. But Newcastle have had quite a few home games this season, haven't they? In the cups this season, and obviously elevated ticket prices is probably going to have an impact. Which was also a question. I can't remember who asked that question. Was it Chris Waugh?
Yes.
Asked questions about the season tickets, which I thought was quite interesting. And one thing that stuck out for me, because I know people whose season tickets are doubling. Yes, you might say, I know, but you've been paying pennies for a long time. People don't have a lot of pennies at the minute, so to see their season ticket doubles, I know, but you don't have to go to the match. Well, I know. Shut up. I'm not having any of that. I hate those little caveated arguments that people say. I get it on social media when I've talked out about pricing of tickets before. You don't have to go to the match, and it's not a decision you should be making, letting a loyal fan make. You shouldn't be forcing them into saying, do I go to the match? You want to go to the match. So for people to have their tickets doubled, that's going to have a big impact, you would imagine, on the match day revenue. The Champions League extras will drop off, which was sizable. I mean, he took a lot of, he was backslapping himself in the meeting about taking reverse praise when I think Aston Villa's tickets came out and they were 90 odd quid for the Champions League this year. Newcastle's was 50-ish. Yes. It was 50, wasn't it, for season ticket holders? So yeah, I think there's, you know, he was praising Newcastle on that front. I hope they would stick to that if Newcastle will get back in Europe, and you can't be charging 50 quid for the Europa or Conference League if they get back in there. I just want to be back. I want to be back in Europe. I really felt that this week when I was thinking about it. You missing it?
Yeah, well, Jordan's in Prague. He's getting his European
he
fix.
He loves Prague. I was saying this to me the other day. He spent a third of the month of March in Prague. He's gone away with his missus to
He's
Prague.
gone to Prague. He was messaging us earlier. He's gone to Prague and received nothing but bad news when it comes to Newcastle United. So
he doesn't want to go back for your stag do, does he? I'm really looking forward to your stag do.
Well, that's good. Hopefully because
we'll know what happened in the Carabao Cup final. It'll be a distant memory.
Drowning sorrows or celebrating. One or the other.
We'll be celebrating the idea of you getting married.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I think.
That will be.
Unless we'll just be crying into a beer, still from a week previous.
Nah, we'll be alright. But yeah, I think one thing that Darren Eales also pointed out was, look, Newcastle, 320 million revenue, it's still some way short from a lot of their Premier League rivals in terms of the big six, if you like. Manchester United recently posted their figures and they're absolute crisis club, finishing below Newcastle last season for the first time in a long time. Still won the FA Cup. 660 million, it's more than double what Newcastle makes. So Newcastle have to still more than double their revenue to get to a level.
Manchester United probably aren't the benchmark for Newcastle United, would be the only caveat to that.
Yes,
you'd look at
Spurs. Again, London club with a big stadium.
I mean, what is the level? Newcastle United maybe don't have a parallel.
I use Manchester United as the example because they're in disarray and also finished below Newcastle last season. So they
will again.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'd imagine, you'd hope.
They will.
But yeah, just on the tickets and things, that sort of a similar topic of what I asked Darren Eales, because a general feeling around the club, speaking to people, like, it's not cheap to support Newcastle United, what you said. You're going to the games with your kids, you're paying membership for 3 years, you're wanting to go to, say, half a dozen games a season.
Yeah.
You want to buy them all shirts.
I know they've got their kits, and then they want the other kits, and then it's like, it's an expensive business.
Yeah, exactly. You're probably spending 4 figures on Newcastle United, and you get to go to the games for nout if you wanted to. So that's just for you. If you were an actual season ticket holder, family of 4, whatever, it's silly money. So, yeah, I just went to Darren Eales. Look, if a fan is having to be put in the positions of making decisions, why should they keep choosing Newcastle United over, say, swimming lessons for the kids or whatever, a holiday, things like that? And he basically just said, well, it's a lot better than it used to be with Mike Ashley and when they were giving season tickets away, but then also the club are still very much on a journey. They're still yet to reach a destination, so it's almost like stick with us because things aren't that bad. Things are going well. They're moving in the right direction. Is that what you got from his answer? I don't think he particularly liked the question, but I think his answer made sense to a degree.
Well, one thing that I'll take out from, I'm going to sort of conflate yours and Chris's sort of questions into the same kind of thing. But one thing, I think it was his question that he said this to, but he said, well, we're always very mindful of the area that we're in. It might have even been everybody's favourite Louise Taylor, who asked the question about, are you guilty of being in the wrong place? The wrong place, in terms of commercial and driving revenues and that kind of thing. One of your questions he did say, and it stuck in my mind straight away when I heard it, we are mindful of the area that we're in. And I think that's the key takeaway for me, that I think a lot of people can take a positive from, is that the club have got to remain mindful of where they are and the people that's Newcastle. I hear all these people out there and they go, you could fill St James's Park if it was unlimited, you could, you know what I mean, like, make it 90,000. I'm sorry, if Newcastle if St James's Park was 80,000, it wouldn't fill. It would fill a few games a season, the big games, the big, everyone, Sunderland come up, it's there, Man United, whatever, you'd fill it, yes you would, but it wasn't full on Sunday. It wasn't full for an FA Cup 5th round game this season where everybody's talking about struggling for tickets. I sat in the Lasers corner, next to the Milburn corner, the Lasers, and there was 3-4 seats next to me empty. And that's because when I bought at the row, I thought, oh, there's a few there, I'll just tuck in here. They didn't even sell. They didn't sell the ticket extra, or maybe they did and people didn't turn up. But there was also, I was looking around because I was surprised by it. I was looking around and there was little gaps, particularly in the Milburn and things like that. And it wasn't huge, but then when it came through 51, it wasn't,
rare occasion less than 52.
It wasn't the return tickets up the top that weren't sold. It was general. It wasn't sold. It wasn't full. So now, give us an example. Newcastle getting the conference, they win the cup, amazing, brilliant. Conference League, you know, even if the season drops off, they've got a European place. They play, I don't know, some crap from Eastern Europe at home on a Thursday night.
Yeah.
I don't think you get 80,000 people at St James's Park.
No, but I
think you might be lucky to get 35.
You just need to go back.
It's pricing.
History when Newcastle, pricing, but then history when Newcastle European football was a regular thing for Newcastle United. I've been into Champions League games where St James's Park wasn't full.
Oh no, well that famous game where everybody says they were not the Barcelona one, obviously the PSG one, but beating Juventus, I don't think it was full.
No.
Don't think it was full. I was there and it wasn't full. We played plenty of games that Champions League season and it wasn't full.
Yeah.
Played Feyenoord, I think it was about 40 something.
Yeah.
That was the Champions League and a team doing really well. That's probably more a symptom of football that becomes fatigue. Like when Newcastle were in Europe most years, and it does become really, it's fatigue. It's just like, oh, you know what, I'll not go and see Partizan Belgrade on Thursday night this week. I'm just not going to bother going. They've obviously tied a lot of people in with these cup schemes now, and you kind of get away from that. But the prospect of Newcastle United selling 80,000 seats for Olympiacos on a Thursday night just ain't happening unless there's 40k coming over from Greece.
Which definitely wouldn't happen.
No.
So.
And that's not a negative, that's just actually reality.
Yeah.
You know, the Newcastle United has a limited amount of people, and there is, to an extent, a limited pot of money that they can rinse from. Yeah. And I think this season has probably pushed it almost as far as it can possibly go. Before
you actually have tangible success. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Darren Eales was asked about St James's Park as well, the future and where things stand, because we were expecting an update in early 2025. That's the message conveyed by the club and Brad Miller when speaking last year. Darren Eales provided an update of sorts, but said he could only say so much.
I don't think there was much in it at all.
No.
Did you?
No, but
I don't think he committed on either, but you might have read more to it than what I did.
No, he didn't. He said it's big decision. He said nothing new.
Medium term was the only thing I think he said with the training ground. He said it's a medium term.
Identifying a site is another thing he said as well. But again,
they know where they're going to put it.
Yeah. But
they also know what they're going to do with the stadium.
So we'll wait and see. That's what the message from Darren Eales was.
Yeah, that's the bit about it, is they know what they're going to do, but they're not going to say, and because they've got certain things that they have to do and want to do in the process. But
putting the ducks in the row, that's what Darren Eales said. So it basically ties into what you're saying. The decisions are made. It's just more or less just making sure everything's.
The decisions are made. They just have to convince everybody that they're helping make the decisions. That's my opinion, and that might sound really cynical, but that's my stance on this. The fans have to take a decision, and whatever, you know, they've got a fan advisory board and whatever, talk to them, and I think they've got to convince, and it's the same with every business decision. We're talking about, you know, a potential business that's edging up, being worth £1 billion is not going to really make a life-changing investment on the decision of Tom, Dick or Harry off the street, off Gosforth High Street. Yeah, it's not going to happen. They know what they want to do. They've just got to make sure they convince everybody that that's the right decision, and you're playing a part in this decision making. It's just how business works. Yeah, cynic here. But make sure you have your say when you're asked.
You'll say it doesn't matter.
And look, at the end of the day, if it's a new stadium, it'll be great. It'll be absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
When it's a new stadium, I would imagine it'll be great.
When it gets built, timescales. That's one thing he couldn't say. But on that note, should we wrap up? Because this has been maybe a record-breaking length Geordie Journos video. You could probably split it into 2.
You probably could. Well, long videos don't tend to do very well.
No,
so do like, comment, share and subscribe, because we do need to share this around because we'll cover some interesting topics and give some interesting.
But it's usually when we're here at the Brandlin, we do very long videos, and it's usually not around a game or a press conference, so we're just sort of chatting away, aren't we? So our regulars, thank you, will probably tune in, but the wider audience that we always strive to reach will probably go.
No, unless you work your magic with a headline. This could be hard.
Comment below, how should we headline this video? Right, so on that note, thanks for watching. I'll be back on Friday, potentially on my own, Liam, unless you want to join up, but I won't put you in that.
I might try my best
in that position. And then we'll be back as a trio, most likely at West Ham, hopefully reflecting on a return to some sort of form for Newcastle United. So if you like what we do, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring the bell for all your latest Geordie Journos content, and I'll see you on Friday. Thanks for watching.